We want to talk about how WNBA star Brittney Griner, who has been in Russia for some time now, since February, talking about some of the latest developments in her case. And we want to bring in journalist who serves as a contributor for Essence and Revolt, Miss Ashley Banks, to be a part of this conversation. Ashley, thank you so much for checking in with us on The Culture here on the Black Star Network. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thank you so much, Raji, for having me. I think this is an important discussion that we're about to have.
Yes, absolutely. And in a few moments, we'll be bringing back our members of our culture crew, Iman Heath and Lise Winnie, in a moment. But Ashley, talk to us about what you have learned about this Brittney Griner situation. And then it still seems very like fuzzy and cloudy. The fact that she was in Russia before the conflict started, and then now she's still detained in Russia. But people are asking is, why was she in Russia in the first place?
Right. Like you said, Faraji, a lot of information is fuzzy. First of all, we have no idea how long Brittney has been in Russia. We just know that she had been going to Russia during the WNBA's off season to participate in Russia's league. And there she was earning about $1 million annually. And she was only there to supplement her income, Faraji. As you know, WNBA players do not make nearly as much as NBA players. So sometimes they go overseas simply to supplement their income. And so all we know is that she had been there since February. She was arrested sometime in February for having vapor cartridges in her luggage that contained hashish oil. And so right now she's being detained. I was looking around trying to do some digging, and as of right now, no one really knows where she's detained, or at least that's not public information. And basically, Russian authorities released her mugshot today. And so that's like the first time many people have even seen Brittney Griner. And over the weekend, that's when it became public that she was even being detained. So many people are under the assumption right now that she's going to be used as a bargaining chip. As we know, the U.S. has levied loads of sanctions against Russia. So experts believe that now her detainment is going to be used for Russia's benefit. So we're going to have to see what happens there.
So there has not been any official word either from the Kremlin in Moscow or from the White House about any of this situation happening.
No, they've been, like you said, that word fuzzy. The Secretary of State didn't really give too much information about what's happening over there. I'm sure they're in talks trying to figure out what's going on and hopefully how to get her back. They say whenever an American is detained overseas, they do everything that they can to get them back. But Faraji, we've learned that there are two other Americans that were detained at some point over in Russia and now are there. They've been sentenced and they're carrying out their sentences in Russia. And the U.S. said they've been trying their best for years to get them back. So right now, many people are fearing that Brittney could end up facing those 10 years in jail for carrying those vapor cartridges if something isn't done. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But no, the U.S. government has kind of been hush-hush on the facts of this case.
You know, her wife, Sherelle Griner, wrote on Instagram yesterday, quote, "There are no words to express this pain. I'm hurting. We are hurting. We await the day to love you as a family." So, you know, in that same message, she asked if the family would be given some privacy during this time as they try to figure it out. But then it was also reported to Ashley that she's getting some help from Congress. So talk to us a little bit about this effort by her congressperson.
Yes. So Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, she made some remarks that have been floating around on social media. And she's basically demanding Putin give back Brittney Griner and just saying what Putin is doing, first of all, by invading Ukraine is utterly ridiculous. But to hold Brittney Griner simply like hostage in Russia is not okay. So Representative Sheila Jackson Lee is doing all that she can in Congress to bring back Brittney Griner. But still at this time, information is so scarce when it comes to this case.
I want to bring back my culture crew members, Iman Heath, Elise Winnie, to be a part of this conversation. Iman, you played basketball. So talk to us a little bit about just being in that space where you have that access to kind of go around. Like, I don't know if you traveled abroad or overseas or anything like that, but talk to us about that experience.
On mute, of course. But usually for the experience, and like Ashley said, WNBA players go overseas to supplement their income. But being able to move internationally as well, it comes with a price. And I had no idea that she was facing 10 years for the offense. I had no idea it was that amount of time. But honestly, I'm gonna say it's the accountability part. You have to be able to be accountable for your actions, because again, when you are playing basketball, playing a sport, especially as a woman, there are of course double standards, but certain things we just have to triple check over to make sure we do not get caught up in the mix up or the mess, especially as far as travels. Because as far as I've learned, that WNBA players have to provide their own fund their own costs to fly and whatnot. So when you have those type of stipulations on you, especially the spotlight, because Brittney Griner is very popular WNBA player. She's
right.
a seven-time All-Star. So it's just, we gotta be way more careful than what we've been. But it's a privilege to be able to go from one country to the next to do something that you love to do. But it comes with a price. We gotta be careful.
So at least, and I think to the point of her wanting to go across the waters to make some additional income, some people may start to criticize that, or that could be a way, especially now, it could be a way to heighten the conversation that WNBA players need to get paid more, so that way they don't put themselves in precarious scenarios like this one.
Yeah, I agree that, this is International Women's Day. We have seen that the Women's Soccer League now makes more money, so they were able to win that lawsuit that they had. I think that this is a conversation that we need to have. Women basketball players in the WNBA should be making more money. The unfortunate part is that the Americans, we say that, but we do not support the sport in the same way we support the NBA. If they don't have the marketing and the sponsors, and they don't have the people who are viewing it and buying the tickets, they're not going to get the higher pay. They're not going to pay them more. So as the public, we owe those WNBA players the same type of support that we give the NBA. Like, we need to buy tickets. We need to, share their content. We need to make sure that we're supporting them, so that the people at the top understand that people are going to pay to see it, and that people should put sponsors in the WNBA so that they can make more money. But absolutely they need to. I wish I could make a basket. The only baskets I know how to make, maybe a picnic basket, boo-boo, and Yogi debate. That's it. That's all I can do.
Well, let me ask you this though, Ashley. With that being said, this is kind of hitting from within the intersection of pay, gender pay, politics, and in sports. Like it all kind of comes crashing together in this one case. From your vantage point, what's the possibility that those things can be addressed and that Brittney Griner can come home?
Yeah, that's a great question. I did come across this report that said it had nothing to do with the pay, of course. That's been a thing that people have been asking for years. But like your other guest just said, we have to support the WNBA for that to even take place. But I came across a report from an expert that said it would be in Russia's best interest to give Brittney Griner back, because basically their economy functions off of sports, just like ours does in a sense, right? And so over in Russia, when it comes to basketball players, they get most of their basketball players from America. It comes to American women. And so it would be in their best interest to send her back, because if they don't, then American women won't feel safe going to Russia. They're going to end up staying here and just not going and helping to boost their economy, essentially. And so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But as we know, when it comes to Putin, Putin does whatever the heck he wants to do. And it doesn't matter how many sanctions right now that the US is levying against Russia, or other countries are levying against Russia or have levied against Russia. But it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and if the conversation surrounding the pay with WNBA players versus NBA players actually becomes a real conversation and something actually takes place in this country after this.
So as of right now, Brittney Griner is a political prisoner.
In a sense, yeah. And that's what a lot of people are saying, that she is a political prisoner, because once again, she was detained back in February at some point. We still don't know when that was, but it wasn't until this invasion took place that Putin even made the announcement that she was detained. So in a sense, yeah, you could call her a political prisoner. It's pretty sad. She went over there simply to supplement her income and to feel equal to NBA players in this country. And now, unfortunately, her safety is at risk, and she could spend the next 10 years over there in Russia in jail.
I mean, this is kind of very hard to wrap my mind around, just simply because I really, really hope and pray that Brittney is able to be released very, very soon. But I know that the tensions between the United States and Russia is very high. And, you know, with how things have gone, the language that's being used, just everything, it just seems like, you know, she might be sitting there. Hopefully she doesn't, but she might be sitting there for some time. And that's very concerning. Like, that is very, very concerning. Now, if they use her as a bargaining chip, and I'm asking all you ladies what your thoughts are about this. If they use her as a bargaining chip, is there any sense of what they might want from the United States at this point, Ashley?
So my thought would be they would want the U.S. to stop with the sanctions. I mean, even today we saw the Biden administration, it announced a ban on Russian oil imports, and that's a big deal, right? Trade is a huge deal. And so they have been getting slammed economically, and it's hurting them greatly. And so essentially what I would think is that Russia would want the U.S. to pull back on the sanctions. But my fear, Faraji, is that, not to like speculate or anything, is that because Brittney in 2020, she was very vocal and outspoken about police brutality, about social injustice. During that season, she basically demanded the WNBA stop playing the national anthem. And if they didn't, then she would stop playing the game that season. She also wore Breonna Taylor's name on the back of her uniform to bring awareness about what happened to Breonna Taylor. And so I am just hoping that she's not left out there to dry, because she was somebody who was outspoken about the issues in this country. She has said time and time again that she is proud of this country, right? She has pride for this country, rather. Her dad was a Vietnam vet. He was a police officer for 30 years. And before she became a basketball player, she thought she was going to become a police officer. But simply, she was out here protesting and demanding what's right for African Americans. So I'm just hoping that she's not left out there to dry. And we see the Congresswoman who's doing everything she can to bring her back home.
Iman, you got a question?
Yes, just to follow up about the work Brittney Griner was doing before she got to Russia. I did also see, in fact, that Russia cracks down, that's the terminology used, on the LGBTQ community. So Ashley did hit something on her nose when she said it could be, you know, possibly the situation as far as holding Brittney as a political piece, but she also fought against, besides police brutality, LGBT community. So I think that could also be a part that's playing into it as well. For Putin trying to, whatever he's trying to do, make his point with her, but that could be a good reason as to why she'll be held.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really quickly, like you were saying, over there in Russia, they have very harsh laws against same-sex marriage. Like, it's banned. And so, like was just stated, yes, they could levy laws or penalties against her, in addition to the 10 years she could face for the drugs that she was carrying.
I have a question too, if it's okay, Faraji.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I know that Trevor Reed, who is the former Marine who has been locked up in Russia since 2019, I know that they mentioned that his family was going to reach out to her family and maybe try to get something going, because they're saying, like, the Russian ambassador or the US ambassador to Russia there actually said that his charges were completely false, like they were made up. Is there a possibility that if those two families, I'm not sure about the third American, if they are able to work together, if it could benefit Brittney in a way?
Mm. Ashley?
So I'm not sure as it pertains to that, but yes, there are two white men in Russia that are currently serving out sentences, and they say that they were sentenced on false charges. And what I believe could potentially happen is if they're not able to bring Brittney Griner back within the next few weeks, she could be sentenced to these 10 years. And we could see her carrying out this sentence just like these other two men, unfortunately.
Mm. And one of the things too about this whole scenario, Ashley, is the fact that the team that she went over, and this was something that news outlets are starting to see, that the Russian team that she was over, that she was connecting with, may be connected to a Russian oligarch, somebody that has close ties to President Putin, and as a result of that, of these sanctions, will not be able to make moves and to make the type of decisions they need to make in order to get Brittney free. So how does that play into the situation that if her Russian team or her Russian benefactors, the people that brought her over, are oligarchs, and then now their money is dried up, they won't be able to make any financial moves. And then at the same time, here in America, we're not supporting Russia TV. We're not supporting Russia, expression of any kind at this point. How do we break away from that to make sure that the story of Brittney Griner gets out there to the people?
Yeah, I think simply by doing what you're doing now, and there are a lot of people on social media who are doing everything that they can, but it's up to us, right, to pressure the government, our government, to get answers. We can't leave her out there, especially right now, what's happening with Russia. Putin is a dictator. Putin is going to do whatever he wants to do, like I said before. And although she did, Brittney might have had people in her corner that had close ties to Putin, they have to watch out for themselves. They have to protect themselves. They have to protect their bottom dollar, right? And their families. And so they don't want to get in between this. They don't want to have to, answer to Putin on this matter. And so it's up to us, the fourth estate, to really hold the US government accountable to do what they can. But it is against the law for the US government to bargain with American lives. And so it's going to be interesting to see what takes place here, and if Putin really does use her as a bargaining chip, and how the US responds. But better believe the Black community is watching the US government and their response on this. And it's up to us, once again, to just continue to pressure the US government and to follow through with the Congresswoman Lee, to see what happens here.
I know Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is a strong advocate of a lot of issues pertaining to our people. But I'm gonna be honest with you, Ashley. I'm a little bit nervous about holding this administration accountable, just because the track record of the Biden-Harris administration when it comes to matters that are highly important to us is not that strong. It's not that good. And so I'm wondering, how far up the totem pole, how much of a priority is the Brittney Griner case?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, Faraji. For instance, I wasn't surprised, and it needed to happen, but when I saw the announcement about the ban on the oil imports from Russia, I'm just like, are we even thinking about Brittney at this moment? Or are we just going to keep doubling down on Russia, which is something that needs to happen? But of course, we're not hearing much about Brittney Griner. So it's making me question, what is going on, and is the administration, the Biden administration, doing anything? And like you said, a lot of the Black community does not have faith in the Biden administration at all. And so once again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But a lot of people have been criticizing this whole matter and saying that if it were an NBA player that were over there, let's say Steph Curry, for instance, was over there and detained, this country would be doing everything they could to get him back. Heck,
Absolutely.
he'd probably be back here in this country at this moment as we're speaking. Yeah. And so that's a great question that you're asking. Is she a priority? I mean, she hasn't been a priority when it comes to paying this country. So we're going to see if she really is a priority to this country and to get her back here safely.
I mean, and sisters, I really hope that she, by her being vocal, that doesn't become a consequence for her. You know what I'm saying, Iman? Like that it doesn't become a situation with the WNBA or the government or Russian government. Everybody's like, oh, so you one of them people. So
I honestly agree that could be it. Like you made a great point. I think it could be consequences, and there most likely will be consequences due to her opening her mouth or saying what she has to say on the back end. Also, her wife but it may be backlash depending on the comments that she tweets or what she has to say about, what they're doing in Russia as far as Brittney Griner, but it will be pushback. Then to even add the pay, like Ashley said, she already wasn't a priority here. So now that she's in Russia, and we're just now finding out about her being detained, it's March 8th. We don't know how long she was detained for February, but she wasn't a priority then. I don't think it's going to change now unless she is used as a political pawn, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm thinking about the other time when they had ASAP Rocky, when Trump got him out of, you remember that, Ashley, when he was, he was, I forgot what country he was in, but ASAP Rocky was over there, hip hop artist.
Yeah, he wound up fighting. He got in a fight or something like that.
He got in a fight. But essentially, the president was able to, at that time, Trump was able to get him out of that situation, and
But Trump's relationship with Putin, if I'm not mistaken, was a little more favorable than
I mean, no doubt
with Biden.
No doubt.
So I think that plays a huge part in this case, and if Brittney will be a priority or not. So the relationship is the biggest thing.
Ashley, what do we need to do at this point? Of course, we're having this conversation, and certainly we'll be bringing you back on to keep us updated, because my hope is that this will come to a happy ending. But in the meantime, what do we need to do? What do we need to reach out to Sheila Jackson Lee, Congresswoman Jackson Lee? Do we need to send letters to the U.S. Embassy to advocate for her? What do people need to do her, especially the Black community?
Like you said, Faraji, the fact that your faith is not in, Sheila Jackson Lee, your faith is not in the Biden administration, you're not alone. And like you suggested, yes, reach out to Sheila Jackson Lee, hound her, figure out what the heck is going on, make sure she's doing her job to bring back Brittney Griner. The same thing if you have ties to any politicians, if you have your local congressman's contact information, Senate, whoever, reach out and make sure you're putting pressure on them to bring this woman back. Reach out to the WNBA, see what they can do, see what efforts they're making. But it's unfortunate because it shouldn't be up to the people. It shouldn't be up to the Black community. This should be on the government because it is a political matter. It's a foreign affairs matter. But as you and I know, right now, this is what's being told. These are the stories. Right now, she's in the headlines. But what happens when something bigger takes place this week or something bigger takes place next week? People are going to forget about Brittney Griner. Heck, a lot of people probably didn't even know, if you're not a sports person, you didn't know who Brittney Griner was before this even happened. So it's going to be easier for these people to forget her because they don't know her. She's in Russia and they're going about their daily lives. Yeah. So right now, obviously, for the Black community, the best thing that we can do is to just put pressure on the government to make sure they're doing everything necessary to bring her home. She's a 31-year-old woman who was just there to do a job, to be a basketball player. She didn't go there to be a political prisoner. She wasn't there protesting against anything in Russia. It's not fair what's happening to her. Simply, it's not fair. So we have to do our part and pressure the government.
Ashley Banks, thank you so much for checking in. And again, we'll bring you back to give us some more updates as this story develops. But we appreciate your time in breaking down some of the details. Thank you, Ashley.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am Roland with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, wow, Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?